The last road west. There are worlds stacked beside ours. Most people never notice. In one world, the oceans are black. In another, the moon has been dead for 300 years. In another, America never existed, and ancient cities stretch across the continent like bones. And somewhere beyond all of them is the road. Nobody knows who built it. Nobody knows where it begins. But every world has one. And every road leads west. The Last Road West. Chapter 1. The Last Train. The train had been waiting for him for a very long time. Elias Vane did not know how he knew that. He simply knew. It stood beneath the dead station clock, black iron steaming in the cold, its windows glowing with a weak amber light that reminded him of candle flames behind dirty glass. There were no tracks beyond the platform. That was the first thing he noticed. The second was that the tracks beneath the train did not appear to be made of steel. They looked like bones. Long, pale things ran parallel beneath the wheels, disappearing into the darkness in both directions. Elias stood alone on the platform. At least he thought he was alone. The station had 4 wooden benches, a ticket booth with cracked glass, a rusted stove, and a large sign hanging from 2 chains. The sign read, Vane's Station. He stared at it for several seconds. Then he looked down at himself. He was wearing a long black coat, a white shirt, pair of dusty trousers, old leather boots. At his right hip hung a revolver. He reached for it instinctively. The grip felt familiar, too familiar. His hand knew exactly where to go. He pulled the weapon from its holster. 6 chambers. 1 bullet. He stared at the brass cartridge. Then he frowned. The bullet was not brass. It was black. Not painted black. Black like a hole. Light seemed to bend around it. Elias slowly put the gun away. Where am I? His voice sounded strange in the station. Not because of an echo. Because something answered. From somewhere beneath the floor came a faint whisper. West. Elias froze. The whisper came again. West. He turned. Nothing. Only the train. Only the dead station. Only the clock. He looked up. The clock read 3:17. The second hand moved backward. Tick. 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 Elias watched it. 3:16. 3:15. 3:14. He stepped away from the clock. No. The station door behind him opened. Elias spun around. A little girl stood there. She was perhaps 8 years old. She wore a red coat. Her hair was black and wet. Water dripped from the ends of it onto the wooden floor. She was holding something. A shoe. A child's red shoe. Elias stared at it. Something inside his chest tightened. Where did you get that? The girl looked at him. You gave it to me. I don't know you. Yes, you do. No. She smiled. There was something terribly wrong with the smile. Not because it was too wide. Because it looked practiced. Like she had learned how humans smiled by watching them through a window. You always say that. Elias felt the revolver against his hip. What's your name? The girl tilted her head. Which time? The station lights flickered. For one instant Elias saw something else. Not a girl. An old woman. Standing in exactly the same place. Then the lights came back. The girl was there again. Elias took 1 step backward. The girl whispered, "Don't get on the train." The locomotive gave a long, mournful whistle. The girl vanished. Not ran. Not disappeared behind something. She simply ceased to occupy the space where she had been. The red shoe remained. It lay on the floor. Elias stared at it. Then he heard footsteps behind him. Slow. Heavy. Coming from the train. Someone was walking down the aisle. 1 step. Then another. Then another. Elias drew his revolver. The train door opened. A man stepped onto the platform. He was tall. Very tall. He wore a white suit. His skin was almost translucent. His hair was completely white, and his eyes were covered by small round spectacles. He smiled. Elias. Elias raised the revolver. Stay where you are. The man stopped. That's always the first thing you say. Who are you? The man smiled wider. You've forgotten. I don't remember anything. I know. Where am I? The man's expression changed. For the first time he looked frightened. He glanced toward the station clock, then toward the darkness beyond the platform. You have less time than I thought. Less time for what? The man stepped closer. Elias cocked the hammer. The man stopped again. How many bullets? 1. Good. The man looked relieved. Elias narrowed his eyes. Why is that good? Because if you had 2, you'd waste 1 on me. The station went silent. The man reached inside his white coat. Elias tightened his grip. Slowly, the man removed a photograph. He held it out. Elias didn't lower the gun. What is it? Your family. I don't have a family. You did. The words landed harder than they should have. Elias took the photograph. There were 3 people standing outside a small farmhouse. A woman. A little boy. And Elias. He looked younger. Much younger. The woman had one hand resting on his shoulder. The boy stood in front of them. The boy's face had been scratched away. Not torn. Not burned. Scratched. Again and again. Until nothing remained. Elias turned the photograph over. There was writing on the back. His own handwriting. He recognized it instantly. If you find this, don't trust the man in white. Elias slowly looked up. The man in the white suit was gone. The train was gone too. The platform was empty. The station clock had stopped. 3:17. For a moment Elias heard nothing. Then something moved underneath the platform. A scratching sound. Slow. Deliberate. Something with fingernails dragging itself through the darkness. Elias stepped toward the edge. He looked down. There were faces beneath the station. Hundreds of them. Men. Women. Children. All staring upward. All whispering the same word. West. Elias stumbled backward. The station began to shake. The dead clock shattered. The lights went out. And somewhere beyond the darkness, a train whistle screamed. The sound was so loud that Elias covered his ears. Then came the voice. Not from the station. Not from the train. Not from anywhere he could locate. It spoke directly inside his head. Elias Vane. He fell to his knees. You have been here before. The floor cracked beneath him. Something cold touched his ankle. He looked down. A pale hand was reaching through the wooden boards. It grabbed him. Elias fired. The black bullet struck the hand. There was no blood. Instead, the entire station flashed white. And suddenly Elias remembered. A road. A tower. A woman screaming. A little boy running through tall grass. A door standing alone in the middle of a desert. And something enormous watching him from behind it. Then the memory vanished. The train returned. It stood before him once again. Steam poured from the engine. The door opened. Nobody stood inside. Elias slowly climbed aboard. The moment his boot touched the floor, the door slammed shut. The train began moving. There were no tracks. There was no sound of wheels. Outside the window was not the station. It was daylight. Elias stared. Town passed outside. People walked the streets. Cars moved along a highway. Children rode bicycles. A woman stood on a porch watering flowers. Everything looked normal. Then Elias noticed the date on a newspaper someone was carrying. October 14th, 1987. The train accelerated. The town disappeared. Another landscape appeared. A desert. Then a forest. Then a city filled with towers. Then an ocean beneath a purple sky. Then darkness. Elias walked down the aisle. Every seat was empty, except for one. At the very back sat the little girl in the red coat. She looked up at him. "You got on." Elias stopped. "You told me not to." "I know." "Why?" The girl looked toward the window. "Because now it knows where you are." Elias felt the hairs rise on the back of his neck. "What knows?" The girl slowly pointed behind him. Elias turned. At the far end of the train stood the man in the white suit. Except now there were 3 of him. Then 6. Then 12. Every seat was suddenly occupied. Men in white suits. All staring at Elias. All smiling. The little girl whispered, "Don't let them take you to the tower." One of the men stood. Then another. Then another. Elias reached for his revolver. The little girl grabbed his sleeve. "Don't shoot." "Why?" "Because they aren't the ones coming." A sound came from beneath the train. A deep, wet breathing. The men in white stopped smiling. For the first time, every face in the carriage showed genuine fear. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then went completely black. Something enormous moved along the roof. Elias heard claws dragging across metal. The little girl whispered into his ear, "Whatever you do." The thing above them stopped. "Don't look up." Elias looked up. And the train screamed. Not the whistle. The train itself. The metal walls stretched inward like flesh. Windows bulged. The ceiling split open. And through the widening crack, Elias saw a single enormous eye staring down at him from the darkness between worlds. The eye blinked. And somewhere very far away, something laughed. Elias closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the little girl was gone. The men in white were gone. The train was gone. He was standing alone on a road beneath a red sky. Ahead of him stood a wooden sign. There were only 4 words written on it. "The road goes west." Beneath them, in smaller letters, someone had carved, "It always has." Elias looked down at his revolver. The cylinder was empty. He checked again. 5 empty chambers. 1 empty chamber where the black bullet had been. Then he noticed something else. His left forearm hurt. He rolled up his sleeve. For words had appeared beneath his skin. Fresh. Bloody. Written as if from the inside out. "Don't let him win." Elias stared at them. Then the road behind him whispered his name. He turned. There was no one there. But far in the distance, beyond the red hills, a tower had appeared. It was impossibly tall. Its top disappeared into the clouds. And at its highest point, something was watching him. Elias began walking west. He didn't know why. He didn't know where the road led. He didn't know who he was supposed to save. He didn't even know what he was running from. But somewhere deep inside him, beneath the memories and the fear, one thought remained. A thought that wasn't his. Keep walking. Whatever you do, keep walking.
There are worlds stacked beside ours. Most people never notice. In one world, the oceans are black. In another, the moon has been dead for 300 years. In another, America never existed, and ancient cities stretch across the continent like bones. And somewhere beyond all of them is the road. Nobody knows who built it. Nobody knows where it begins, but every world has one, and every road leads west.